All right, let's get started. I'm really excited about this presentation, or really it's like a how-to. I'm going to go through everything with you on exactly what you need to do to pull lists from the county. So I haven't done anything like this in the past, which that's why I'm kind of excited, is because I've done this so much and it's so valuable to learn. So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to jump in. We made this just a Zoom meeting instead of a webinar. So if anybody has any questions, you can either raise your hand, put it in the chat, and then I can call on you as we go through. But this is going to be really just a how-to. Before I get started, I want to thank everyone first off and apologize for shifting the time back an hour. So I really appreciate everybody being able to still jump on at 2 o'clock Eastern. Okay, cool. So let's get into it. I've always been a very big advocate for pulling niche lists or lists that really come from the county records or your town records, wherever your area holds the information. I have always been a big proponent of pulling it from there. Now, you can pull like tax delinquent and code violations and some other lists from data providers, but I'm going to show you why it's worth your time to do it this way. And I can show you that I'm going to show you the exact process and how you do it. The information is just so much fresher. Not only that, but you will be able to specify going down to the exact people that you want to market to and not marketing to everyone. And I'm going to show you some examples around that too, where if you were to pull records from a data provider, how you might get a lot more records that really don't have any tax liens anymore. So let's get into it. And again, feel free to ask questions as you go along. Okay, so let's start off first. Some locations around the country, information is held at the town or city level. In other locations, it's held at the county level. Okay, so it's really up to you to determine and to find out where does the information, where is it held? For me in Massachusetts, everything's held at the town level. So I'm going to go into Google. I'm going to show you everything, what you need to do and how you do it, how you send them an email and all that. So here are some of the lists that we're going to go through. Tax lien list. So the tax lien list, you always want to email the treasurer. Fire damaged homes. So believe it or not, every single town or county, their fire department has to log any properties that they go to if there was a fire. And in some locations, they'll not only tell you the property that they went to, they'll tell you what happened, and a lot of areas will tell you the estimated damage of the property. Okay, so that's really valuable because you can really hone in. There's many times where the firefighters might go out to a house and there's no real damage or very little damage. So instead of marketing or marketing to everybody that's on the fire damaged home list, you can really hone in on the ones that have substantial damage to their home. Water and sewer liens, code violations, and there's probably a number of other lists that you can get. But I'm going to go through, and you can use the same methodology for any type of list that you're going after. So if you want to take a screenshot, this basically tells you what list and who that you want to email. Okay, some other lists that we're going to go through. Evictions, we probably really won't go to that. Massachusetts doesn't do a very good job at court records with evictions. So you can either do one, most areas, court records are online right now. So you can go through and filter going down to the evictions. Sometimes you have to go through the cases to understand who the owner is. It's much more challenging in Massachusetts. They didn't make it very easy, so I don't think it's going to be really fruitful for me to go through every court hearing and showing you how to do that. But the other one that I do want to show you is state liens. That's something unique, and I don't see many people actually looking for state liens. State liens are basically anyone that owes the state money. Okay, so it's not like a tax lien, it's a personal, the individual owes the state. So I'm going to go through and show you exactly how to do that as well. Um, cool. All right, let's get into it. So I'm going to literally just go through step by step. The first one we're going to do is we're going to go through the, you know, finding information and a town department. So let's just go up here. Let's start with tax lien list. Okay, so we're going to email the treasurer. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go online and you want to search for the department. Then you want to get the email address of the treasurer, and then you're going to send them what's called a FOIA, Freedom of Information Request, Act request. Okay, and then you just need to make sure you follow up. So with this kind of outline of what we need to do, let's go through and do that. So I'm going to do this for Andover. So I live in Andover, Mass. So I'm just going to type in Andover, Mass, and then treasurer. There we go. So this one pops up here. So you're basically going to come up to the website of either your town, city, or the county, okay, wherever it's held. And in some locations, if you typed in the, your specific town, it might actually bring you to the county website, which is fine. So you can see here, here's the treasurer page, and over on the right-hand side, Michael Morse, okay, and then email. So if I click on email, it already creates an email, and here's his email address. So I just copy this. And if you have a bunch of towns and counties that you want to do, what I do is I throw them in a spreadsheet, and I just have the person's name, their email address, and the date that I sent the request to them. Okay, that's the biggest thing. So when I was doing this, I would have maybe 10 or 15, a list of 10 or 15 towns. I'd put the name of the treasurer, their email address, and then just the date that I sent them the FOIA request. So now that I have their email, what I can do is just FOIA request. And then you just want to send them the FOIA request. So to do that, let me show you here. Here is the FOIA request. And if you guys want, well, what we will do is we'll send you a recording afterwards of this, but we can also share the slide deck because there are some links down here that you'll want to get access to. So this one here, if I go to this website, here is the FOIA request letters for every state. And this is important because it's a little bit different depending on the state that you're in. Okay, so all that I would do is come down here to Massachusetts, click on that, and you can see this is in a letter format. Okay, but we're not going to send a letter, we're going to send an email. So you can see it says under the Massachusetts Public Records, I'm requesting an opportunity to inspect or obtain copies of the public records, and you have to put a description in here of what you're looking for. If there are any fees or services of copying these records, please inform me of the cost that will exceed, and I usually do $10. However, I would also like to request a waiver of all fees and that the disclosure of the request, right, so it goes through. It does say down here that the by law that the treasurer has to get back to you within 10 days. It's really 10 business days. So this outlines the explicit way that you need to request FOIA request. If you sent any other message, even if you sent an email, hey, hello, this is, Justin, I'm trying to request this. It's not a FOIA request. They do not have to provide it to you. So this makes all the difference in the world. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you the email because I wanted to do a test, I think a couple weeks ago. So I sent this, let me make this larger. So this is to Michael, right? We saw Michael, he was, I think I got off of it, but he was the guy in Andover, Mass. So right here. So I said, hello, Michael, under the Massachusetts Public Records, blah, blah, blah. I'm requesting an opportunity to inspect or obtain copies of the public records that a list of homeowners who are delinquent in paying their property taxes. For each record, please indicate at least the person's full name, property address, and tax delinquent amount. Also, it would be preferable to receive this information in Excel format, but if that is not possible, you can email it to me in another electronic format. If there are any fees or for searching or copying these records, please inform me of the cost that exceeds $20. Under Massachusetts Public Record Act, requires a response within 10 days. Okay, here is some things that you will 100% run into. One is you may send it to somebody. If you can't find the treasurer email and you just find like a mailbox for the Treasury Department, there is many times that you will be emailing and the person looking at this will be like, I have no idea what this is, and doesn't get back to you, or responds and says, we don't have this. They 100% have this. And I'm going to show you the reports of what it should look like. So if they are like, I don't really know what you're looking for, you can explain what the report looks like and the information. But every town has this because they need to know who's not paying their taxes, right? They are pulling in revenue for the town or for the county, so they need to know who's delinquent. So they have to have this information. Many times you will not get responses. So it is definitely up to you that you have to keep on them. So you can see I sent this, actually it's exactly 10 business days from today that I sent this. So right here, I said, let me see, where is it? Oh, right here. Hi, Michael. It has been 9 business days since my FOIA request. Again, under Massachusetts, right? I just made this up here. Under the Massachusetts, I was just referring to it. You have 10 businesses to reply to my request. I would appreciate if you could get back to me today or tomorrow. I sent this at 11:51 yesterday. He got back to me at 11:53. Apologies for the delay. Attached is the most recent tax title advertisement. We are getting ready to prepare another one in the next few days. Please let me know if you are looking for anything else. So what he sent me was this. So this is what he sent me. This is not what I was looking for. It's still good, but not what I was looking for. So this right here is
Sorry, Justin. We're
yeah.
still looking at your email screen, so you might need to adjust your share.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me stop share, and then let me share desktop. Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for stopping me. I would have continued going on and everybody's like, what are you talking about? Okay, so you can see this one. This is not the report. This is a tax taking report. Okay, tax taking is different than tax delinquent. Tax taking means that every state, or it might go down to the county level, the county or the town will do a tax taking for a property if they are delinquent in paying their taxes after a certain period of time. Okay, so in some areas it's 2 years, in some areas it's 3 years. If you have been tax delinquent for 3 years, the town or state will take your property back to collect their taxes. So this is the tax taking. Now, tax taking is really good, but I also want to know the delinquents, people that haven't paid in the current year or even last year. So you'll see that, you read through this, and the important thing is that, right, by the Board of Advisors have said Andover remain unpaid. So this list is the unpaid properties that have not paid taxes. Said parcels of land will be taken for the town of Andover on Thursday, July 18th. So if they don't pay their taxes by July 18th, 2024, this is the old one. He said he was doing a new one. These are going to be, taken back by the town. So you see the list here. You see their names. You see and this is all public record, so it's okay that I'm sharing this with you. So you see the name here. You see the address, and you see the amount, and when it was delinquent since. Okay. So you have all of this information. So here are all the properties, and there's not a ton of them. There's probably 20 something. Andover's, I probably doesn't have too many people that are delinquent on this, but still you can go through. And the important thing to look at is right here. See the amount that they owe. So someone like this, $24. And this happens so often that they're delinquent, they're tax delinquent, but they owe like $20. Or they owe, if I come down here, $1.37. Right? Do you think there's any motivation for that person to sell for $1.37? Probably not. It was probably just an annoyance, or they didn't even see the tax bill or whatever. So this is why you go down to this level. You will never find the amount that people owe in taxes when you go through and you pull it from like a list, any type of list builder. All right. This is getting very, very specific. So out of these 20 something, you can probably remove a bunch of them and just market to or reach out to maybe the top 10 of them. Okay. Now we're not talking big numbers, but this is again, only the tax taking. Okay. What I'm going to show you next is the actual, what the tax delinquent should look like. Okay. Let me zoom in. Okay, so this is more similar to what you should receive. Okay, so it's basically a report. It shows you the year in which they were delinquent. Now this goes back, this is an old report. This is an old one that I pulled from 2014 when I was, probably pulled this back then. So just bear that in mind. So it shows you the year that they were delinquent. Here's the parcel number. Here's the address. Here's the owner. And here is all the information over here. So you can see the principal due, the interest due, the fees due, the per diem, and the total due. Okay. I generally look at this column on the right-hand side. So the first thing that I do when I receive this is I look down this column and I do a little calculation. So I make sure that I'm only reaching out to those that own a considerable amount of tax liens. Okay, so what I would probably do is I would get an understanding of what the median home sale price in the area is. Okay, so I mean, you don't have to do this. You can basically go down and say, okay, anything over, a reasonable amount, I'm going to start marketing to. But for me, if there's like a big list and I want to make sure that I'm marketing to people, I would actually go into Andover. And I would say Andover, Mass. Let me see if it's right on the Treasury. Andover, Mass. Here it is. So I'm looking at the tax rates, okay? So Andover charges $12.49 per thousand on your property. So if I were to say, okay, the average home in Andover is worth, let's just say $500,000, okay? So $500,000, and this is per thousand, the $12.49. Okay, so 500 times 12.49. The average tax bill in Andover is about $6,200. Okay. So what I typically want to do is I take half of this. I want to know the people on average that are about a half a year behind in taxes. Okay. So when I go through here, I'm basically just going to, cross off anybody that's under that amount. That's one way you could do it. Okay. The other way that you can do it that shows a little bit more motivation is based on the year. So again, if you know that tax taking happens after 3 years, today's it's 2025 right now, so 3 years back, if you start to look at properties that were delinquent from 2021 or 2022, those are probably the ones and have a high balance. Those are the people that you really want to go after, because that tax taking is coming up very quickly. Okay. versus if somebody is just $10, delinquent and it's 2025, they're probably not going to be all that motivated. The other thing too is a lot of businesses. Okay, I found that a lot of businesses that own real estate, they will only pay their taxes twice a year. They won't pay it every single quarter. So they will likely be on this tax lien list every other quarter because they haven't paid. Okay, so that's another thing to consider. But that's how you can basically look at this list. So you can see this list it's pretty long. And especially you want to hone in on the top ones. You can probably knock off at least half of these people, right? Everybody here is 1,700, 1,800, 1,700, right? These are probably all not truly motivated people. You can probably knock off and see they're all the same person. You can knock off a ton of people and not waste time and energy on the people that they might have a tax lien, but it's $400, right? Considering their average tax bill is like 6,000. All right, so let me take this into consideration, and then now let me go over and show you when pulling from like a list builder, how the results will vary. Okay, so let me just get out of here. Let me see if there's anything else for tax lien. I showed you that. Yeah, here's another town, just to show you. So you can see it's a very similar format. It's a completely different town, but everybody pretty much has the same format, right? The year, parcel number, location, owner, and then the title due. So this one, $120,000. That's pretty substantial. Okay. All right, cool. So let's just go over to Invelo. All right, let's log in. So Invelo, you can actually pull tax liens. So you may not have known that, but you can absolutely pull tax liens. But I'm going to show you how they vary, okay? Because when we get this information similar to any other list builder, and I'm going to go into Andover, and I'm going to go down and specify right here, tax delinquent year. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, tax taking. So these people, you can see here, it's basically 2023. Everyone's 2023. So I'm going to say, all right, let me just pull a list and see how many people in Invelo I've identified to be tax delinquent since 2023. So 2023, 2023. And then I'm going to do years of ownership because I want to make sure that they still own the property. Even say, at least 4 years, or I can say 3 years. Okay, and let me apply. 465 properties. Okay, so I've identified that there's 465 properties that had a tax delinquent year of 2023. Now, I'm sure some of these will be in there. So if I went to, but let's actually just, poke into one of these. So if I scroll down, you can see under tax information, tax delinquent year 2023, okay? However, so they could have had a tax delinquent year of 2023, but they pay their taxes. It's still identified, and this happens not just in Invelo, any other platform will still give you an identification of 2023 that it was tax delinquent. So where I'm pulling leads from here, I can absolutely do that, and if they haven't sold the property, there could be an underlying still motivating reason for them to sell based on taxes. But this list is going to be much more specific. You're going to know exactly how much they owe, and you're going to know if they don't pay it by 2024, then there's going to be a transaction done on their property, and they're going to lose it. So that's why, the extra 1 to 2 emails that you're sending to people and getting a honed in list, it's well worth the energy to be much more specific on who you're marketing to. But if you don't want to do this, your backup, you can always do Invelo. And now let me just pull up, let me take a look at this property. 215 Salem Street. 15 Salem Street, Andover, Mass. And let's just see. So right here, tax delinquent year 2023. So this property that's in this report is an Invelo. So, we're quite accurate with identifying tax delinquents, but we just don't know the updated information or the amount that they owe. Okay. So that's on tax delinquent. We're going to go into a couple other ones. Any questions on that so far, that process?
Justin, we have a question about like where data comes from. And so our data is proprietary in our app, but maybe just talk about how data gets updated from the county level to data providers and then into Invelo.
Thank you. Yeah, so we use, most all list builder or data companies, similar to what Invelo has, we pretty much all get the same information from the aggregated from the same provider throughout the country. They're the largest in the country. And so anytime a record gets updated, the way it works is we have many different records or information that we get. We get MLS data, we get assessor data, we get recorder's data, we get deed data, right? All of that information gets filtered up to this aggregator and then sent out to all their customers like us, okay? So anytime that the assessor, let's just talk about assessors, if a record is updated in the assessor's database, so the property sold and there's a new owner, the assessor needs to update their records, obviously, because they need to go after and collect their property taxes. So they need to make sure that they're sending their mail to the right person. So they get that information updated immediately. As soon as we get that trigger and it gets updated into the assessors, we get that information as well as soon as they submit that to the aggregator. Because our aggregator pipes into all these assessor departments and they have to feed everything up. So we get our information updated daily. So as quickly as the assessor provides the data, our information is updated. So we constantly get new records or updated information, and that's primarily why whether you're using this feature or not. So if you did pull, and that is kind of like the background of why we're doing. So let me select all import. See right here, this auto add. So the reason why we have this auto add and why it's, to me, one of the most powerful things in the list builder is because we're saying, hey, you just pulled this list of people, all right? You're pulling this list. If new records come in to our database that meet the criteria that you just pulled the list on, do you want us to add it automatically to your prospects database? That's what the auto add does. So essentially what that means is once you pull a list in the list builder, you never have to pull that again. You're always going to get fresh updates, and anytime a new property meets that criteria, it automatically gets pushed into your prospects database. So that's why we have this, and that's why it's so critical that people do it, is because when I was pulling lists, depending on what type of list it was, every quarter I'd have to go back and pull the list again, or every 6 months or 12 months, depending on the type of list, I'd literally just have to pull the same list again. It was a pain in the butt. So here you literally don't have to. And not only that, if there's even just one record that meets the criteria, it goes into your prospects database and you can automate it so marketing goes right out. So what's really cool is just think about pre-foreclosures or vacants. And this is probably one of the most, the best ways to do this is if you pull a pre-foreclosure list and you add that auto add on, as soon as that record is recorded that there's a pre-foreclosure on a property, not only do you ingest it into your prospects database, but you already have marketing going out. So you're the first person to get in front of that person that's going through that instance or there's a vacant property. So that's where it's really powerful. Any other questions on that? Sorry.
No other questions right now.
Okay, cool. So let's go back and just go over here. There's a couple other lists that I just want to show you. So fire damaged homes. So again, it's the same exact thing. I would do Andover, Mass, fire department, fire rescue. Here's the chief. Here's his email. Click on that. I got his email. Okay. So now I can send, again, a FOIA request. I would change the FOIA request so I'm not talking about um, tax liens. I would change that, obviously, so it's identifying. Sorry to go keep on popping back and forth to these different screens. But I would change this piece out, this piece right here, and I would just specify what you're looking for right here. So a list of properties where you have visited their home because there was a fire-related incident. For each record, please indicate, you can still leave this on, full name, property address, and you can even put like, assessed fire damaged amount, okay? If they don't have it, they don't have to provide it, but it would be great to get it if they do. It would also be preferable to receive this information in Excel so that all that you can leave. Everything else you can leave the same. Okay, so you send that to the fire chief and then you can get a list like this one here. So this one doesn't have the amount, but you'll be able to see kind of what I get. So this one's, again, Andover. What I realized, though, after the fact is that, I asked this for every single town I went to, and then I found that in Boston, everything rolls up to Boston. So they actually have records for every single town. So if I requested this to the Boston fire chief, I can get it for the whole state, which was ridiculous. And that was the hardest list I have ever tried to get. I had to follow up with him probably like at least 30 to 40 times, but every time I had to follow up, that put a smile on my face because I knew that everyone else probably stopped asking him and didn't get to that list. And when I finally got it, that was the list that not only had the address and the type, but it also gave the amount of damage that they estimated on the house. And it was in Excel. So I basically sorted by damage, and then I just started working my way down and said, okay, anything over $100,000 of damage, that's who I'm going to go after. So it was like 2 seconds once I got that list to identify the people. So this one, you can see it's really nice. The address and building fire, okay? So that's all it is. Cooking fire confined to container, I probably wouldn't put that on. So I'd probably put anything building fire that's on here. And again, you want to make sure you cross-reference and make sure that, because these properties very well could be commercial, okay? So that's the one thing. So if you did want to take this, right, you go into, I'm just going to clear this out. I'm going to put this address in, and you can see this is, right, governmental. I can go to the next one, put this in. And property type charitable organization, right? So you can just go down really quickly and just identify which ones are maybe single family if that's all you care about. Structure name, so you can see student resident, assisted living, stuff like that. But that's the fire damaged. All right. Let me see, I think there was one more. The other one that I'm going to show you is the water, water and sewer. And water and sewer comes from the treasurer as well. You might think it's originally DPW, which I think I tried to go after DPW first to identify this, but then they were like, everything's held at the treasury, so if somebody doesn't pay their water and sewer, the treasury department actually deals with it. So this can be another request. Okay, so I would send them in two separate requests, even though you're sending tax lien and you're going to ask for water and sewer, two separate requests. Don't get them, don't combine them. But again, same exact thing. So all the information is here, the property code. So this one does not show the address, but it will show the APN number. And again, you can take all these APN numbers, throw them into a spreadsheet, and you can still import into Invelo using APN number. Okay, so you can import using a spreadsheet with APN. And just so you know, property addresses, if you guys don't know, they're kind of meaningless for the town. The town doesn't care. And that's why a lot of land, you'll actually see that there is no actual address. And I think one of them right here. So if I went into fire record, yeah, here it is. So going back to this one, see where it says Rogers Street? There's no like number, or Maryland Street, anything like that. Generally, that's probably land, because land a lot of times does not have an actual number. It's like 0 North Street. And that's why you can see like there might be multiple 0 North Streets, because it's land, they don't have an associated address with it. And the town doesn't really care about address. It's always parcel ID or parcel number or APN number. That's how they always identify land. Okay. So I think that's it for water and sewer. And then the only other piece, the one that I want to go through with you next, is the state lien process. So again, state liens is going to be a little bit different. I don't know if every state has this, but this is a really great list to pull, and I'm going to show you how to pull it. So you would literally just come into here. Let me go over here. So I say Google. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to do Massachusetts. Oops, begins with an M. And then right here, view the public disclosure tax delinquents list. So I click on this. Right here, business and individuals who owe more than $25,000 in taxes to Massachusetts are posted on an online public site. View it here. Yes, please. Individual. And then I'm going to go, let's see, I don't know if anybody on Andover. Yep. Let's see, search. Okay, here we go. So in Andover, here are the people that owe the state money, and you're going to see how much they owe. So the only thing that you're not going to get is whether or not they own property, which it takes a little bit of kind of cross-referencing. So what I like to do is go into the assessor records. So Andover, Mass. I think assessor data. Yeah, here we go. So you can go into the town or the county and you look at the assessor. You want to look at the assessor data. Okay, this is where you can basically go in and you can type in an address and it will give you all the information from the assessor. So if I typed in 123 Main, let's see if this is going to populate street name. I did the opposite. Here we go. All right, I click on this. Oops. So parcel ID, I click on it. So for Andover, let's see, this person owns it, right? This is their mailing address. This is the last sale date. This is the last sale price, right? This is just assessor record. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy this name and I'm going to go home, remove that, and then put the owner in. And I might start with just more and not the first name. And the reason I don't want to start with the first name is just because there might be something else. Their, spouse might own it. It might be in a trust or anything like that. And it's also going to be a little bit challenging. Like when you go in and you see more, there's going to be probably a lot of mores. So it might be hard to identify, but you can go through and see if you can pick up on any one of those individuals. Again, I'm going to copy this one. Here we go. What was their name? Jeffrey. There we go. Jeffrey. So They own 14 Avery Lane. Okay, so here's the property. Bought in 2019, almost $1 million. It's in, a trust sold it to them. So this is where you can basically just cross-reference. So the list isn't huge, but this is a great list. I mean, it's nothing to do with property, but it gives you an indicator on the financial distress of the individual. And you can just go through, you can see that you can do it for every single town in Massachusetts. So this is a really great list that if you can find this in your state, I showed you how to Google that, but this is a great way to identify state liens on the person, not really related to the property. Okay. I think that's everything that I wanted to share. Any questions that anybody has?
No questions in the chat. That's now.
No questions. I did everything. I did a great job. It's got to be some questions.
Oh, Andrew has a question. Andrew, you can
Nice.
unmute if you want.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
We can hear
Yep.
you now. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Justin. That was great. Question, I know that we were able to leverage Invelo a lot for being able to append information. Um, my understanding is we do need the address, city, state, zip to be able to populate it. We can't just go off the APN, right? Because that would help with some of these county websites where they don't give you the address but give you the APN.
Yeah, so right now we are adding APN so you can plug it in here. But right now we do allow you to import like a spreadsheet with APN. So if I just clicked on properties, you can import based on APN right here. So it'd be APN and then it would be city and state.
Okay, so which ones are needed?
Uh,
We
A
can't just go off the APN, right? Or
so yeah, it would be APN, city, and state.
okay.
Okay, those would be the three that you would need to put together because the reason why is because you can have APN can be there could be a duplicate in another part of the country. So
Uh-huh.
that's why APN goes down to the local level. So
Right.
that's why you need
Okay.
APN, city, and state. Yep.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. I think I had one other quick question. How
Sure.
much fresher would you say that this data is as compared to Invelo? For example, the tax defaults?
How fresh are you saying?
Comparatively, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say as far as like when they're delinquent, when the delinquency started, as soon as the assessor flags them that they're delinquent in that specific year, I would say it's pretty fresh. However, as far as like if they are still delinquent, they don't go back and like update that information. So that's why when I showed you that I pulled a list, there were like 438 records from 2023 that have a tax delinquent year date. You're going to be pulling 400 and something records when the list that they gave me might have been only like 22 records. And you can probably narrow it down from 22 to maybe 15 because, a lot of them only have like, $20 worth of tax lien. Does that make sense?
It does. And then the people that you just pulled directly from the county are unlikely to be on something you would pull from Invelo. That's what you're saying essentially.
No, well, the people that are on the list, that are on this list, we did see that the people on this list are in Invelo as
Okay.
tax lien. So when I pulled this address right here, and I threw it into Invelo, and I said Andover, Mass, like I can scroll down and see tax delinquent year 2023,
Right.
right?
So the
So
best advantage. Okay. Sorry.
they are, yeah, they are in here. Everybody on here seems to be in Invelo, or is in Invelo. But the reason why I like pulling from here is because, especially if you want to make sure that you're only marketing to highly distressed people and not people that just owe like $20 or where they did have a delinquency in 2023, but they paid it off because maybe there was a transposition error or something like that. Because that happens a lot. People will make a checkout and they'll write it incorrectly, get on the tax lien, and then they pay it in full the next one, and then they're off. But the data doesn't get updated in a lot of lists providers. So you're not now you're marketing to more people than if you were to like look at these like the details here.
Understood. Thank you. That was a very helpful explanation.
Cool. Of course.
Sorry, I guess
That's okay.
no one else has any other questions. So for something like code violations or any of these lists
Oh,
generally, like there's so many different ways the county does it. Some of them will only give you the address, but not the city, state, and zip. Some of them will do this and that. Is
yep.
the best process generally just to have like a VA go through and append the necessary info? What do you say?
Yeah, so what I typically do, like this one, as soon as I saw this, I knew this was not the format that he gives it to, that I usually get it in. I usually always get it in this format over here. So I can simply like, copy and paste this into a spreadsheet. However, yes, I mean, getting a VA to putting this information in would be a good use of time. But what you can do is just basically throw this into a spreadsheet, organize it by the amount, and then just remove the people that are below the certain threshold. Because once they put this in, then you can filter out, okay, well, this one's a commercial building. I'm not really interested in that. This one's are, single family or land. So you can go that way.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Justin. I think that's all for now.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
We had another question in the chat, Justin, and I think this is a great question, and we actually get this a lot. What is a reasonable frequency to pull these like niche lists that you have to pull from the county?
That is a great question. If you want fresh data, then I would likely do it every quarter. I would likely do it every quarter. And the other way to do it, you can still do, um, so you can still do it this way. So, and I honestly haven't tested this, but as we're talking about it, there's another way you can do this. So if you're pulling these lists from, the county, and you pull the list and you have a good starting place. Okay, here are all the properties historically that were tax delinquent and still are tax delinquent. That's going to get you started with like a baseline. And then what you could probably do is come in here and you can do ownership tax year 2025, 2025, and then you can apply this. Okay, now there's 549 properties, but what I would likely do is I might select all, I might import this. Okay, hear me out. I'm going through this with you for the first time. So I would import all of these and I would add auto add on. And this is the focus of this exercise. And I would say Andover tax liens, Andover new tax liens, and I would import the records. Okay. Then what I would do is I would say, okay, so I would import all of these, the 549, but it's not the 549 that I'm interested. It's the new ones that every time, right? So as I mentioned before, anytime a new property meets the criteria that I just created here, which is basically they have a tax delinquent year of 2025, then they're going to come on my list. So that's what you could do in Invelo. So every new record that comes in, you know that it truly has a tax lien. Now, you don't know how much it has a tax lien of, but that is a great way to capture all those new ones. I'm forgetting what the question was to begin with. Oh, the frequency. Yeah, of when you to pull the list. Yeah, definitely quarterly going to the town because they only charge them for tax liens. You get quarterly bills, so every quarter they might have an updated. Even with the other ones, the frequency is usually payment in quarterly. So quarterly, every 6 months is probably like a good time frame.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
I have one last one, super quick.
Sure.
Would part of your strategy be to say if you pulled a list that the info wasn't in Invelo, you would upload it into Invelo and then add the appropriate tag so you know which of your concurrent properties are the best motivated wise? Is that kind
Oh
of how
yeah,
you would approach it?
100%. So when you import a list, when you import the list, you're going to add the list as tax delinquent, and you can even do like dash county.
And then you would probably add the date so that the next quarter when you do it, you just say, you know, tax delinquent quarter 3, whatever, as opposed to like removing the tag.
Right.
Because the only
Yeah.
way to remove it would be manual. Once they're no longer a delinquent, you'd have to manually check that, correct? To be able to remove the tag.
That's right. So yeah,
Okay.
if you want to, you're talking about so you can remove people that were tax delinquent that are no longer tax delinquent.
Exactly. There's no automated way to do that, I imagine, right?
Um, Let me just think about that. What you could do is you could create an automation every time you upload a new list. So going back to your example, so you could create a workflow and you could say property. Um, Actually, we don't. Yeah, okay. So what you could do is say search for um, property. Let's see, life cycle stage. Life cycle stage is prospect, and then tag is any. Yep, and then tag is none of. Okay, so you could do if you put a tag on them and you do like Q1 tax delinquent, and then you have Q2 tax delinquent. What you could do is say, okay, all the properties that are in all the prospects. I want to see all the prospects, and where there is a tag of Q2 tax delinquent, they have a Q2 tax delinquent, but sorry, a Q1 tax delinquent, but they don't have a Q2 tax delinquent. So that means that they were on your Q1 tax delinquent list, but are not on the Q2 tax delinquent list. Does that make sense?
It does.
So you can do that, and then because we don't have the ability to delete records right now, what you could do is you could add another tag. So add a remove list, add a tag that says delete, right? And then you just go back to your prospects and you can delete, as you're bringing in new records. So you can update that workflow every time. The other thing you could do is just filter. You could just filter and filter out, show me all the records that have a Q1 tag but no Q2 tag, and you can literally just go through and delete them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Invelo
Okay.
is amazing. Just want to say
Oh.
thank you so much for making it. I love it. So
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Any other questions that people have?
No other questions in the chat?
No? All right. So again, everybody that registered, we will send you out the recording of this. I'm also going to save the slide deck in our community. So if you guys haven't been in our community or you didn't sign up for it, I recommend you do it. Go to Invelo community and sign up, and we'll post all the information here, the slide decks, the recordings. We also save them in the help doc. But this is a great resource for anything. Anytime you have a question and another investor can support you, I'm always in here providing feedback. So this is a great way to just have good communication. So again, thank you everybody so much. I appreciate you joining, especially when I had to push this back an hour. So really, really appreciate that. And until next time, I think we have another event or webinar in June. And I believe that's all about marketing. So working on marketing campaigns. Cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.